You ready to go, son?
I am ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, an American take on Formula One, episode 62, Mexico Grand Prix at the Autodromo. An amazing start and a heartbreaking start. A record-breaking win for Max, but possibly the end of the line for Sergio. Patrick, son, can I get your take on Mexico Grand Prix?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's such a thing as sad mariachi music. Because if there is, this is the perfect time to play it. Um,
That's
I
like
mean,
sad polka music. I'm just not sure it's a thing.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, just real tough for Sergio in his home race. That Red Bull it was miles ahead of everybody. If he just, you know, was able to get around that first turn, he was off. Him and Max were obviously going to finish 1-2. The order didn't really matter. Unfortunately, three cars going into one turn, very frequently someone is the odd man out, and unfortunately for Perez, that was him in this race.
So tough, I know.
So
Lap
tough.
lap one, turn one, home race. And if the rumors are to be believed, and I always believe rumors, his job is on the line. His seat is on the line. That was tough.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, he wanted to win this race. Red Bull obviously had the pace to do it. He really only had one competitor for this race, his teammate Max, which obviously that's a tall order in and of itself. But I think somebody had to back out in that turn. And they're all F1 drivers going in for the win. Nobody's backing out, and that leaves someone with sort of terminal damage to their car.
Yeah, I thought he might recover. I was like, when I first saw that, I think he can keep going, but not to be. And it was an amazing start by Max, who doesn't always have the best starts. Good start by Leclerc. Not a great start by Sainz. I thought Leclerc, his teammate, just easily outraced him the whole weekend, the whole race. I mean, even he had a little bit of damage and was still faster than his teammate Carlos Sainz. So, great drive by Leclerc. And hey, it was Mexico, but what a race for the British drivers. I mean, Lando was just amazing today. Lewis was good. Russell was fair. Albon, we'll call him British driver for this episode. He was good. I mean, that was four good drives, especially with Lando. I also thought it was a real big tell because Sergio should finish P2 in that Red Bull. When they did the restart, Lewis backed out. It was like him and Charles, and he backed out. And Lewis rarely does that. And I think that was his way of saying, I'm not going to win this race. I'm not going to go for it. What I'm going to do is go for finishing P2 in the standings for 2023. And he's not only 20 points behind with, 3 races left? 4?
It's 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I just crazy to think that that Hamilton is still able to do it after all these years. He's a competitor. He's smart. He knows exactly where he can finish, and very consistently, is able to finish in that spot. He knew he had zero chance of winning this race. I mean, at that restart, there were still way too many laps left. Even if he was able to eke through, he absolutely would not have stayed up there. He just, maintained his composure, understood what he really was after, and I just think that that shows his sort of experience, um, and his ability to just uh, stay calm under pressure, make sure sort of everything is in control, and he's controlling his own race, and not worrying about whatever else might be happening. We've seen, I think, a few times this season and last where his young teammate Russell doesn't isn't really able to do that so well, at least at this point in his career. He lost out on points earlier when he was going for that gap on signs, a few races ago. I don't remember exactly which one, maybe Qatar or Japan. And he went off, and lost out on not only a podium but any points at all in that race. And Hamilton just sort of understood the assignment today. He said, I'm beating everyone except the one car that I have no chance against.
Yeah, no. You mentioned Russell wasn't his best race. The long season's getting to him. Lewis has his teammates getting to him. I think they're building the car, I think, a little bit more to suit Lewis. I think Lewis still has the ear of everyone in that garage. Not George's best showing, but he did a fair race. He did finish one ahead of Ricciardo, if I remember correctly. And, I've written off Daniel Ricciardo, and I did not think AlphaTauri should bring him back. I thought they should let Liam Lawson stay in that seat. I thought there was a reason why he got sort of, booted from McLaren, and I thought Liam did a better job, but he came back. It was a statement, in a bad car, and that AlphaTauri has just been terrible all year. That was a heck of a race by Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, great race from him. It's good to see, everyone likes Ricciardo. And, as much as Perez might be fighting for his seat next season, I think Ricciardo is the same. And I think he knows that. And he's been given every opportunity by his team, AlphaTauri, to succeed. And this weekend, that team, that car, showed some pace, showed some promise. Unfortunate that Yuki had to, take a penalty and start from the back, for a new power unit, I think. Otherwise, I think, would have been up in the running too. But he helped Ricciardo in his qualifying attempt, starting out in really good position after a solid showing on Saturday, and just sort of maintained his pace the whole race. Really didn't give anything away. Knew he couldn't really hang on to the Ferraris or the Mercedes, but he put up a good fight every time somebody came up to him, and finished with one of the best points hauls for AlphaTauri this season. So
yeah, and I thought Alonso didn't finish. He's in that garbage car. But the experienced drivers really kind of showed their stuff today. Max, Lewis, Charles, Lando against his teammate Oscar, though he did have that fun battle with Yuki. Valtteri Bottas, I thought, had a decent showing, a decent weekend. So that part was fun. Lewis is only 20 points back now, which is a bit shocking. I think it's a testament more to Sergio's failure this year than to Lewis's greatness. But both are factors. I had been hoping, since I'm a McLaren fan, and I love that team, and has an American team principal, Zach Brown, that they might be able to sneak in and take third in the Constructor. But I think after this race, they did well, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Time is going to run out on them.
Yeah, I think with only a few races left, so only a handful of points, Ferrari, with the 3-4 finish this this weekend kind of puts it out of reach for McLaren. They've been excellent since the summer break, but it kind of just goes to show you have to be consistent throughout the whole season. Ferrari hasn't been special this season, but they've pretty much started the season okay. Keep making improvements to the car. Not really getting close to Red Bull or Mercedes, but as long as you keep doing your thing, keep scoring consistent points, you'll be good. McLaren just started out so badly.
Yeah.
I think they maybe had a total of 60 to 80 points by the 12th, 13th race this season. All of their points have come in the last seven races or so.
Yeah, but I mean, they're fun to watch. They've got a young team, a fun team. They're getting better. But you're right, time is sort of running out. They needed to start out of the gate much, much quicker. They did not. Ferrari with the third best car, we've knocked Ferrari for strategic mistakes, for a number of failures, both from the garage, the car itself, the driver sometimes. But really, Mercedes overall, I think, has a better car when you factor in reliability. Then you throw in Lewis Hamilton, and Red Bull's got the best car, and you've got Max there. That's a tall order. Ferrari, I think, their ceiling for this year was always going to be third, probably. Why don't you give me your top 5 for the race?
My top 5. Yeah, I think we've kind of mentioned all of them at this point. We've had some really good performances this weekend. Probably none better, at least in the race, than Lando Norris. He had just a really tough qualifying, I guess you could say. Not really going out on the right set of tires, only being able to get one lap in due to some, I guess, Alonso had that spin, right? So there was a yellow flag, couldn't really complete a hot lap there. Just ended up, qualifying way down the order. Might have been his first Q3 exit, or Q1 exit this season.
Yeah.
There we go. So just really unfortunate for him on Saturday, and he made up for it all on Sunday. Got a little bit of luck with some safety cars and the red flag, but coming up, beating your teammate after such a bad sort of grid spot, and then also being able to be up there and beat your fellow countryman George Russell, it's got to feel good for him. Really good comeback performance from Lando, and I think probably the best drive of the day.
Yeah, I had him as my driver of the day, and I think this was one of his best races ever. I mean, we forget, I don't know how old he is, maybe 26, but he's been doing this quite a while. Yeah, I thought this was one of his best drives.
Yeah, really spectacular from him. I think, another guy that just is so consistent, but today really showed his class is Lewis Hamilton. P2, another podium for him, hunting down that P2 in the Drivers' Championship, which, is shocking that that's even possible. Max is running away single-handedly with the Drivers' Championship and really the Constructors' Championship.
Yep.
So for Hamilton to be able to, even be remotely close to the other Red Bull, Perez, is pretty remarkable. This race was no different. He was just sort of biding his time throughout most of the race, and just kind of skipped away from Leclerc after the restart. Then I have Ricciardo in a really just poor AlphaTauri. At least throughout the season, they've been relatively poor. This weekend, they were really good. Yuki, I think, had a good performance as well. Got a little bit unlucky with some of the clashes he had with Oscar, but Daniel just had a really solid veteran performance, I thought, and great points for that team. Then I have
Yeah,
Alex
I'm
Albon.
just looking at the constructor points right now. Haas has fallen to 10th. No big surprise, 12 points. But the Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri are tied at 16. So Daniel's, he moved them up.
Yeah, that's man. AlphaTauri, I have to imagine will probably beat Alfa Romeo this season. I
Yeah,
think
I
with
think
3
they'll
races
finish
left.
a solid 8th, but 8th is probably their best.
So it's pretty amazing, I guess, that 8th, that means Williams is what, 7th?
Yep.
Which really means Alex Albon is 7th.
Yep.
So I guess, well, I'll say that Alex Albon is my 4th driver of the day. He's just
Yeah.
been so solid in that Williams this year. Drove another great performance this weekend. More points for that team. That's frankly, I don't know how that team is 7th. They
Yeah.
probably should not be.
Yeah, that's an Albon. We've talked a lot about Logan Sargent, his teammate at Williams. We hope they bring him back. We think he deserves a second year, at least getting into his second year. But yeah, Albon has pretty much carried that team. It's sort of like how Alonso's carried Aston. Max has carried, Red Bull. I mean, those are the 3 teams when you look at it where they've had, one driver essentially has carried the team completely.
Yeah, definitely. He's been so solid this whole season, and just another good performance from him in Mexico. And my last driver, I have to give props to another podium finisher, Leclerc, in that Ferrari. Really did look so much better than Sainz throughout the weekend. He was able to, shockingly grab pole. Obviously, that run down to turn 1, he didn't have a bad start. The Ferrari just can't keep pace on those long straights with the Red Bulls. But he found a way to, consistently put in good lap times, hold on to his tires, and make the most of his race, and ended up on the podium, which has to feel good for him and Hamilton after, being disqualified from last week's race.
Yeah,
So
I had forgotten that it was both of them disqualified, and they get back on the podium this week. That's nice. So you got Lando, Lewis, Ricciardo, Albon, and Leclerc. I think those are all great, and definitely Lando in the first driver of the day. Best surprise of the Mexico Grand Prix, Patrick?
I guess 2 teams, 2 Italian teams, I think were really surprising, and it was nice to see both Ferrari and AlphaTauri showing really good pace. 2 drivers that looked good for the most part throughout the weekend. I think Yuki should probably have gotten points. Likely would have if he started higher up the grid, which was really no fault of his own. He had to start at the back, and he got into some fun scraps with Oscar. He came out worse for wear. I didn't necessarily see much from either one of those drivers to warrant a penalty or anything. It's just kind of good hard racing. Unfortunately, Yuki didn't quite make the points, but I thought both of those teams, Ferrari and AlphaTauri, were really surprising and fun to watch this weekend. Even though, throughout the season, it's been a little bit frustrating for most Italians to watch those teams.
Yep, that's a good one. For me, I'm always wanting to talk up dads, and so for me, the best surprise with the dads. You saw Checo's dad, always out there on track, always with a big smile. And before the race, Sky Sports, which here in the U.S. ESPN just takes the Sky Sports F1 feed. They had a nice little interview with Max Verstappen's dad, Jos Verstappen, and so that was fun too. So that was my happy surprise. Biggest disappointment for me, I'm not really sure I should call it a disappointment, but Nico Hulkenberg. And the man's been around since what, 2010, 2011? So he's been around a long time. Now, I know there was a few years where he was reserved, but he's been driving a long time. 200 races, 200 Grands Prix, as they say in Europe, which I actually like. I think we should do that with everything. We should start saying things like paper's towel and notes pad and just ridiculous the way they say it. But I think he had 200 Grands Prix. I was really hoping he'd finally get up on the podium, but not to be.
Yeah, it'll be real tough for any Haas to get up on the podium. I thought he had a great race, actually, pretty solid weekend. Haas is woeful. His teammate scary moment, his suspension just failed going over a curb and flew into a wall, causing that red flag. So, that's just a tough team to race for. And, Hulkenberg really throughout the season has been about as consistent as you can get in that car. P13 is probably the best you can hope for. And
Yeah.
he was able to do that. So I think for 200th race, I know he didn't get the points or the podium, but really solid race for him.
Yep. Anyone you think belongs on the virtual podium? Anyone, any group, anything?
I saw a video of a fan at the might have been Friday. He was at the track. Little kid Milo is a Mexican super fan, but his favorite driver happens to be Lando Norris. And he had his sign out, and McLaren ended up grabbing him and taking him back to their paddock, and got him to meet Lando. They had a conversation. I thought it was a cool thing to see. This little kid, his dream has come true to meet his hero Lando Norris. Weird that a little Mexican kid would love Lando Norris, but I thought it was cool to see.
That is awesome. I missed that. That's a great one. I love that one. I don't have one as good. We sometimes dog on F1, FIA, all the rules, the technicalities, like last week when Lewis and Charles got disqualified. Maybe they're tooling around with the sprints, or they're adding sprints because they're just always looking for more money. But a great rule I love is that every team must let rookies drive in practice. I think at least a couple races a year, and this year I think there were at least 5 rookies. So that was fun to see. I like that one.
Yeah, it's cool. It's always good to see kind of the up and comers, the young talent, who teams kind of are hedging their bets on, and hopefully, we see at least some of those guys end up with a seat in Formula One when the time comes. We've seen that so much throughout the years with drivers coming up through different systems with different teams, but it's always great to see those young guys come up and and turn into real superstars in F1.
All right, switching to the soft compound. F1's going global. Big money's heading into F1. Companies willing to drop a couple $100 million more to start a team. Big tech companies want to get their name plastered on F1 cars. This does not go unnoticed by the drivers. They're looking to leverage that brand, be influencers, get a little cut of the money. I saw Lewis Hamilton is going to be introducing a $40 tequila. And when you think, hey, it's Lewis Hamilton branded tequila, it's probably good tequila, $40 a bottle, that seems reasonable. And then you find out it's non-alcoholic tequila. And I'm like, well, this is just ridiculous. What do we think of this, Patrick?
It's funny that you bring that up because I saw like a little promo for that earlier this week. And yeah, I don't know. Everyone's kind of getting into the whole like non-alcoholic beverage thing. And I don't buy it. Just fucking drink water. Like I I don't know. It's weird to me that people would drink tequila that has no alcohol in it. But that said, if you like it, if it tastes good, Lewis Hamilton branded $40. I don't know. I think it seems like reasonable.
No, it's not reasonable. It's ridiculous. Let's call it.
Well, the fact that it's non-alcoholic is ridiculous. But if
non-alcoholic
you're a person
tequila, let's have a non-alcoholic vodka. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous.
Correct. I mean, all non-alcoholic alcoholic beverages are stupid.
Well, I get, if you can't drink or will not drink, maybe the taste of beer, maybe the taste of tequila, I get it, but I don't know. Lewis Hamilton putting his name on a tequila, and a high tequila, and it's non-alcoholic. To me, this is basically one of those things where this is doomed to failure for everyone but Lewis. He's going to get his name on something. People are going to say, oh, look, he's promoting a non-alcoholic drink. Some super rich guy, I don't know, a sheik or somebody's going to want to hang and be pals with Lewis. So when the brain crashes and burns, he'll buy it out for way more than he should. Lewis will make some money. Some of his pals will make some money. All smart. That's good stuff. Wise. But yeah, I'm not going to be dropping $40+ on a. I don't spend $40 on a bottle of wine.
But I guess the other thing I'll say about this is seems like everybody's getting into like mocktails rather than just drinking a fucking cocktail. And so if it's actually reasonable, then you could use a non-alcohol, whatever the hell.
Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe there is a market. I am extremely dubious. I'm suspicious of this. But yeah, I mean, like all throughout the West now, there are those like soda pop shops where they'll mix all kinds of flavors and creams and additives, and who knows? I think this is doomed to failure for everyone but Lewis, because some rich guy will buy out the brand. But we'll see. But I mean, look, everyone wants a piece of the action. We're sort of legit. We're too legit to quit. But it's not just branded tequila. I saw a commercial for like Red Bull co-branded golf clubs. I think it was tailor-made. I mean, Red Bull is sort of the antithesis of golf. So that seemed like an odd pairing, but it's like, hey, let's keep chasing the money, chase the markets. Yeah. I mean, like, speaking of which, I saw another ad, and I don't watch much TV, so if I see ads, it's almost always F1 related, because the algorithm knows me so well. And there's going to be a live sporting event on Netflix. This will be their first ever live sporting event, and it's basically F1 drivers and pro golfers in some sort of pro-am golf tournament of something. I don't know if you seen this.
I have not seen this. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where the intersection is between F1 and golf.
I think Shake Oil Money is the only connection
That's probably
I can
true.
see. But golf, I mean, there's that whole Leave Golf thing, LIV. They're trying to modify the sport, or at least promote its fun to the younger folks. And maybe this is just another way of doing it. I'm not sure I see the reason for the crossover, but Netflix has probably figured, hey, we want to get some content. People of sports. Drive to Survive was a big success on Netflix, so I don't know. I guess they're going to give it a shot.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't think that I will watch such a thing. Well, if I had Netflix, I might, but
If I had Netflix, I would watch it. But yeah, I mean, I watch F1. That's
yeah.
an old black and white travelogue videos and silent movies. Across the line, that is the segment where hold on, I'm going to get this right, Patrick. I will get this right. We predict the top 5 of the next race. If we get a driver correct, if that driver is in the top 5, we get a point. If we get them in the exact right spot, we get 3 points. We tally up the totals to see who wins. We don't really win anything. Well, how about we put a bottle of non-alcoholic tequila on the line?
All
We'll
right.
make that.
One
put that up
bottle
there.
of Lewis Hamilton non-alcoholic tequila.
Right. And all the rights and privileges therein. So the next race is in Brazil. But what are the standings so far, Patrick?
Oh man. After a really solid weekend last weekend, I came up, took the lead for the first time this season. You had a nice bounce back performance. I lead 70 points to 69 with 3 races to go.
Ooh, that's good. That's
Coming
good.
down to the wire, unlike this F1 championship. But
Yeah, and this is like the triple header. Brazil, that was Mercedes' only win of the past 2 seasons, right? George Russell, I think Lewis may have finished second. I don't remember now. Yeah, and then the triple header, then I think a break, and then I think it's Vegas. Ooh, so this is going to be a fun one. They're all going to be tired. Everybody's going to get home. Wants to get home. They're going to be thinking about the big Vegas show. There could be some chaos in Brazil. I mean, I think chaos in Brazil is pretty much on a weekly basis. But hey, we're just joking here. We're just joking. All right, who goes first, Patrick? Who goes first?
you have first pick.
Ooh, okay. Well, he has been not so good in a good car all year long. That is George Russell. He won Brazil last year. I'm going to go George Russell. Mercedes gets a victory.
That is a pick. First pick.
A daring
George Russell.
strategy.
That is
Yes.
throwing me for a loop. Who the? I really want to pick Lewis. I just don't see how it's possible for Red Bull to lose at the moment.
Max is just crazy locked in. He had nothing to. This was, he was packing his bags on his way to Brazil. There was no reason for him to get off that start. There was no reason for him to push that car as fast as he could. And yet he did. I mean, he's, like I said, he's the Michael Jordan of F1. It's like every point. He wants every point.
Yeah. I think for that reason, I have to take Max. So I'm going to take Verstappen P1. And similar to this week, Lewis P2.
Okay. Well, he's going to try to make up for being out on turn 1, lap 1 at his home race and get some distance between him and Lewis Hamilton fighting for P2. I'm going with Sergio Perez in second place in Brazil. Similarly, going to try to make up for a poor showing against his teammate Carlos Sainz in third spot.
Nice. I have to imagine, that's both Mercedes, both Red Bulls. We really got two other teams here scrapping for points. I have to imagine McLaren is going to want to come back with a fury. I will take the man of the hour. He's had 2 great races in a row. He'll make it 3. Lando Norris on the podium.
Nice. I'd like to see Lando up there.
And then I like Oscar. I think he's been driving well. I think Ferrari's going to have a better showing. I'm going to take Leclerc P4.
Ooh, Leclerc. All right, well, I am going to take, you teased me there with Oscar Piastri. McLaren's been doing well. I think Oscar's going to take, I got him in P4 for next week. And in P5, Aston has just regressed all season long, but Alonso knows what he's doing. I'm going to pick Fernando Alonso. So I've got George Russell, Sergio Perez, Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, Fernando Alonso. That's 5 picks, 5 teams.
So it is. Damn, so far I have the same, I guess. Oh man, it's a tough one. I think I really want to pick someone ridiculous. So I'm going to say shenanigans happen in Brazil. Haas is dead no longer. They will not be P10 in the Constructors' Championship. Take Nico Hülkenberg P5.
Ooh, I would love to see that. Max, Lewis, then Lando, then Charles, then Nico Hülkenberg. That would be a fun top 5. It could happen in Brazil. Any crazy predictions for Brazil or the rest of the season?
Man. I guess not really too many crazy thoughts going around.
I got a good one. Let me tell you mine first while you're thinking.
Right.
Gunther Steiner finally gets fired. And Haas has just done nothing for years. They've regressed every year. Which you think, how does that happen? Because you can't regress from 10th place, but somehow they have. Gunther Steiner is fired. He is then immediately hired by Netflix, who gives him a kind of a travel commentary show. And it's as ridiculous and awesome as you can imagine.
That would be ridiculous. But could be fun.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. I would like to see who would replace Gunther at Haas, if anyone would take such a job.
We absolutely need it's Haas. We need some guy from NASCAR. That would be good. Just a NASCAR guy, full on NASCAR guy. Send him to Europe.
You know what? I would love if like Chip Ganassi just was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna get in F1. And instead of trying to get in as a team, he was like, yeah, I'll just take over the Haas team.
That would be awesome. I would love to see that. That's a great one, Pete. All right. I want to remind our listeners, send your questions or comments to hardcompoundpod@gmail.com. We may read them on the show. We definitely will read them. I wish to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved father and son F1 podcast. And we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
Hey, good show, son.
Bam.
Let's do a little Gen X dad story for you and the listeners. So I entered the workforce in the 90s. like legit entered. Like you got to get health insurance and sign up for 401ks and get an apartment. And what you realize almost immediately is it's madness. You're like, this can't be real. But it is. And you're like, but wait, all this stuff that was leading up to this, all the schooling and the training and the advice, none of that helped. None of that was worthwhile. And you go through this, because you're kind of put off for a bit, because you're like, this can't be true. But it is. And then it gets worse because you realize the only people who are rewarded are dreamers and sociopaths. And if you're not innately a dreamer, it's tough to be a sociopath. So I don't know. You're kind of screwed. And what people do is they find comforts elsewhere. Now, in the 90s, and this is going to be hard for you to believe, all American women in the workforce found comfort in the show called Friends. Now, I never watched the show, but they were crazy for this. And when I say crazy, I mean legit full-on insane for this show. They absolutely loved it. It sort of imprinted itself on them. And I found out today that one of the stars, my age, died. And I'm sad for him and his family, but also for all the people who watch that show. I think, they found in the mad world of adulthood, they found real comfort in that show.